back again to the Man Cave Classroom. I'm John Heath, along with my buddy and colleague, Kevin Cogan. Today we're going to be talking more about westward expansion, but now we're going to talk about farmers moving out west. So just to recap, just in case you're keeping score at home, who's going out west? Gold miners, entrepreneurs who want to make money off of gold miners, or either boom towns or even cow towns. Cowhands might be going out there, but I'm sure the population, that demographic is much smaller than others. So those are the people that you see who are moving out west. I could probably say, since I've fallen in love with westward expansion paintings, you have painters that are going out there to capture that, but again, not as many. But you do have this movement that's going out west, whether it's be for economic sort of opportunity, profit, adventure, the landscape itself. You have people who are moving out there. Today we're going to talk about farmers.
The majority of people who moved out west during westward expansion were farmers. You basically take the Appalachian Mountains to the Rocky Mountains, and you drive anywhere in between there today, it's probably rural farmland today.
Right. And if we're talking about farmers here, since, in most curriculums, especially ours, we're just coming out of Reconstruction. All right, so since we're coming out of Reconstruction, if you're a rich plantation owner in the South that's doing very well, you're not going to go, let's see, there's land out there? Well, let me drop everything I'm doing and go out there because there's free land. No, you're not going to do that. We're talking about people who are looking for an opportunity. You're looking for people who want to be a part of that, American dream. This is a second chance. Maybe, here's something, maybe, people who are locked in a cycle of poverty.
Oh, I saw what you did there.
You like that?
Yeah.
Who,
I'd like to share that idea.
Yeah. Right, maybe a sharecropper. And again, I don't know what statistics say about sharecroppers moving out there, but we'll circle back to this painting. Yeah, there were. But, we'll circle back to this painting. We've so far talked about, prospectors moving out there, pioneers going out there, trains making it easier to move from east to west, but
the
cowboys as well. So I guess we'll say those are your farmers that are going to move out west. So how do you get farmers out west then?
Well, the one thing a farmer needs is land.
Yep.
Yeah, you need the sun. Yeah, you need water. You need land. And again, if we focus on the original 13 colonies into the 13 states and that area of our country by the post-Civil War era is extremely overpopulated.
Yeah, absolutely.
In fact, during the Civil War is when we see that first massive migration of Irish and German immigrants to the United States.
Right.
So it's if there is any land available, it's probably very expensive in the East. Because it's I got an acre plot of land. It's going to cost you X amount of money. Now, where is there a whole bunch of land available? Out west. And especially, again, we go back to Abraham Lincoln's presidency, and we talk about reasons why, of course, guiding our country through the Civil War is what made him the greatest president we've ever had, but also having the forethought to green light the Transcontinental Railroad. And his
get people
signing,
to go out west.
His signing of the Homestead Act in 1862. I would argue, you could make a solid argument, this is the single most important piece of legislation in American history.
When they do stuff on Lincoln, it's almost like you almost have to do just you bringing it up for the third time. Right?
Yeah.
It seems like if you're going to do a documentary or a book on Lincoln, you have to do two. You got to do Civil War Lincoln,
and everything.
You have to do westward expansion,
other policies,
developing.
Yeah. He was amazing.
It was, I mean, how much of that do you think factors into him being one of the top three of all time? Moving farmers out there, getting trains.
In the eyes of historians, huge. In the eyes of your
public,
average public American.
They really.
Yeah, they're oh yeah, he won the Civil War, he freed slaves.
Right.
And that's why he's great. And
right.
it is.
Right.
That alone makes him the greatest. But everything, these other things that he green-lighted, huge.
It's dude, really? You what?
Yeah.
What?
His forethought into the direction our country was headed post-Civil War.
It's looking back on this, it's almost like looking at a jack of all trades and then go, wait a minute, you could do magic too?
Yep.
It's just... All right, so with the Homestead Act, if you're going to get farmers out there, key thing, if you're going to be a farmer, the one thing you need is land, all right? If you don't have land, none of the other stuff kind of happens. So what you want to try and do for farmers, if you're Lincoln at this time, is that you want to make it easier for them to move out west. Again, if you're a farmer on the east, you're going to have to pack up all your stuff, and you're going to have to move, and you're going to have to stay there. Now, the only way that's going to happen is that if that opportunity, if you're talking about taking a risk or a gamble, that's going to be worth your time. There has to be a benefit involved with that. So
there's always like the business concept of risk versus reward.
Risk reward, risk benefit.
Yeah, you have to make the benefit or the reward bigger than the rest that they're taking.
Absolutely. So, they're going to offer free land, but, you're going to have to pay a small filing fee for it.
$15.
Yeah, something to that effect. But the problem here is that, when you're looking at opportunists or scammers or, people who want to try and take advantage of this, this was designed for farmers. Can other people with more money perhaps take advantage of it? Yes. And that's going to be a problem that'll probably be addressed in this next bullet here.
And to put it into perspective, 160 acres is like 1 acre is roughly the size of a football field.
Yeah.
Roughly. So you're talking, in our school, for our students, Robert Frost Middle School, I would say is probably 50 acres of land.
Sounds about right.
About our property. So you're looking at 3 times the size of the property of our school where we teach. So we're talking about a huge piece of land.
You really are.
That they're giving away to you for free.
Yes.
Just fill out some paperwork. Give us. We got to pay the people to process that paperwork.
And here's the other thing too. When you're thinking about like the government as well, they want people out there. If you have people out there, you have a population. You can now become states, and that's what you start to see here. And who you're going to need out there? You're going to need people that are going to be vital to the community. So if you have farmers out there, and just about every community depends on I guess you could say crops that are grown, whether they're being brought in or in my community, I have a farmer right up the road. The United States needs farmers, so that's going to be your thing.
We need food.
Yeah, you need food.
Food.
Right. You can't process or make, I don't know, apples,
It's amazing. I thought it was really funny. I read this once. It's like, it's amazing that the entire human existence is dependent on the fact that we have 6 inches of topsoil and it rains. Like, the whole reason why we are here today is because of that. Like 6 inches of topsoil and it rains. Without that, we don't live.
We don't.
Food is kind of important.
So, since we're looking at the land-owning companies in this bullet, taking advantage of this and getting the land illegally and reselling it to farmers at a higher price, when we talk about the Homestead Act, it was designed for farmers. This is your opportunity, your American dream to start off with a little bit and kind of make it. That's what this was right here. But you had landowning companies who were taking advantage of it. Your exodusters, since we did talk about or kind of indicated or hinted sharecroppers who would probably want to take advantage of that situation and move, out west. Sharecroppers were African Americans, but they were also poor Southern whites as well. So while we're talking about that as making it to the late 1860s.
I love the name Exodusters.
Me too.
Because of the biblical reference to the book of Exodus,
yes,
which is when Moses freed the Jewish slaves from Egypt, and then just the dusters, that dust bowl, that region of our country. So like taking these 2 names to kind of talk about former slaves and the fact that they're going to become farmers.
Exodus also was sung by Bob Marley.
Yes.
Movement of the people.
Okay. Please don't sing.
No, that was great. So when we look here, when you're talking about advertising, and I'm sure you've seen previous videos that we did when we're looking at railroad advertising, when we look here, now you're starting to see people find out more and more about land out west. They're using the landscape, they're using the open land in their advertisements here. They're using different font. They're using, for example, of course, money that always kind of gets people's attention, especially when you're talking about a reduced price. Anything we want to talk about with these, or?
Not really.
No, we'll say that for a separate one. But this is how people are. Another way that people are finding out about these particular opportunities. I think that was it with this one. We talked about them. All right, perfect. Anything else we want to talk about with farmers going out west?
Free land to move out west, live there for 5 years. It's yours to keep. There are still, I think, I think the statistic was about 20% of our country today, 20% of the land of our country was given away under the Homestead Act for free. And that we have families living in Kansas and Nebraska and these areas of our country today that are descendants of the original homesteaders who moved out west. Why is that important? Because these families got that land for free and then were able to turn it into a profit. They weren't then paying off debts of a mortgage payment for 30 years. No. It's like, I got it for $15 and a filing fee, I stayed there for 5 years, and now that land is mine. Eventually what had happened is then, all right, I farmed it for 5 years, maybe I sell my 160 acres to Mr. Heed, he's got 320, and then he becomes this like massive 1,000-acre corporation, but that's fine. It's like, and how it, again, Lincoln had the forethought to steer our nation's economy in the right direction, leaving people with the most important thing that we can have, not being in debt.
Right.
You know, because that debt, as student loans that we've had to pay off over our years.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm 41 and still paying off student loans from 20 years ago.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's awful. You know, but that debt can be crippling.
But since we, when you're thinking of land of opportunity, I mean, here's the other thing too. Imagine being, in Ireland, hearing, where land is scarce for you, or maybe you're not going to receive your father's land or farm.
You're the youngest. You're the youngest in the family. Absolutely.
But imagine being over in Ireland or another country in Europe, going, wait a minute, they're giving away land for free in America? This place sounds awesome.
I like that you brought that up because Alexander Hamilton, one of our founding fathers, his father was the youngest in a Scottish nobility family, noble family.
Okay.
So he wasn't going to inherit the family estate.
Right.
So he moves from Scotland to the Caribbean.
You got to make it out on your own.
Yeah. Because he knew he wasn't going to get anything.
And of course, these things are in print. Are they making them overseas? I don't know about that, but when you're looking at these land opportunities that are in print on paper, word is definitely getting out. It's not getting out as fast as Twitter or Snapchat or whatever the heck it is, but you did have immigrants that were hearing, what's going on in America? They're giving away land for free.
Not only that, but now tying into our previous lesson. Now, I'm a poor, landless worker on Long Island.
Yes.
And I now know they're giving away free land out west. Great. What good is that to me?
Right.
Oh, wait. Lincoln also signed and green-lighted the Transcontinental Railroad?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And believe it or not, the Homestead Act, although signed in 1862, really doesn't start to kick off until 1870. 1870s, because once the railroad's complete, now it's like, wait, I can get out there for a relatively low price in a relatively short period of time. That's when the 1870s is when these homesteaders.
So I'm glad you bring it up, because when you talk about connecting dots and documents as well, it's like, one thing leads to another. I'm sure that's a bad 80s song. But, when you're looking at certain things, you're looking at, Homestead Act 1862, we need to get people out there, which is when you go back to subsidies, when you're talking about the government going, okay, we're going to offer you land, we're going to offer you money to buy railroads, to build railroads. This is why.
Yep.
That was fun. All right, I think we got it all.
Yep. Wash your hands. Be good to each other. Wear your masks.
We'll come to this separately, I think.
At some point.
At some point. Take care.